And those of you who are finishing your projects, once you're ready to join us, you're going to quietly get 2 pieces of notebook paper and join your group, okay? Name, date, and class period at the top of 1 piece of notebook paper. The second piece of notebook paper you're going to use for the activity. Does everyone have a pencil? Grab one. Your name, date, and class period. All right, so first things first, rock cycle. What are the 3 types of rocks? Someone raise their hand to answer. Emery. That is correct. Let's talk about sedimentary rocks. How are they formed? Raise your hand to Caleb. Share.
When sediment decomposes, it goes through decomposition, compaction, and sedimentation.
Okay, decomposition, compaction, and cementation forms sedimentary rock. So how do we move from the sedimentary rock to a metamorphic rock? What processes do we need? Madison. Loudly. Awesome. Stream heat and pressure, and we have metamorphic rock now. Now, how does our metamorphic rock become igneous rock? Tamir? Okay, we have rock. So how do we get from that metamorphic rock to the igneous rock? All right, extreme heat, and then extreme heat and pressure, and what forms the rock? Emery? Cooling and crystallizing. So we have to melt. It's important to remember you have to melt that metamorphic rock down, then cooling and crystallizing until it forms the igneous rock. All right, so everybody's got name, date, class period on 1 piece of paper, right? Throughout the lab, anything that tells you to write on your lab journal, draw, answer questions, it's going to go on that piece of notebook paper that has your name, date, and class period. These are your procedures for the lab. We'll share, everybody doesn't need an individual. Have enough. All right, each group is getting your boxes for activities. Remember, you're going to take them out, choose a group role, and write down your name and your group role on your chart.
All A's the last 9 weeks. Oh, you should use that.
If there's no space on your log to write down your group roles and names, just write on the back, please. Did a group lose a card? I will give you 60 more seconds to finish choosing your group role. The name of the activity is a rock cycle and I'm sorry. rocks on Earth can be classified into 3 different categories on the way that they are formed: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. And we've already reviewed that, so I'm confident that at least someone in each group is familiar with our different rock types. So today you are going to be simulating how rocks are formed. So all of those processes that you just told me form each rock, we are going to do in class. Now, most likely we will only have time to work on the sedimentary rock today and then clean up before it's time for us to go. So for the procedure, step 1 and step 2, parts that you're focusing on today. So whoever in your group is the, not reporter. Yes, it's supposed to be, well, we got one materials manager that's going to come up and get your supplies, and then you'll have one person who is responsible for reading out the procedures and being sure that everyone is following the directions the way they are supposed to, right? Lead investigator and safety managers are going to make sure that everyone is being safe and not poking each other's eyes out, right? All right, so materials manager for each group needs to come up.
Some people got different on this way.
You don't need to be here.
You can't write.
No, I can drive. Driving is so actually it's actually pretty hard.
But you got it in front of me. What golf? You like around the world.
We ride.
Alright, you'll want to get started as quickly as possible. As for goggles, y'all, I don't think pencil shavings really require, crayon shavings require you to have eye protection, so you can omit that step. All right, so for this group, if we're simulating the rock cycle, your whole crayon, what does that represent in its whole shape? What do you think? What are your ideas?
Another rock.
Maybe a rock? Okay, so what about our process of sharpening the crayon? What is that representing?
Extreme pressure. It's breaking down. What is breaking down?
Erosion, breaking down the rock. In your procedures, it says you're weathering the rock by sharpening it. So, after we finish with the pencil shavings, I don't think y'all have read this part of the procedures, but what do you think we're going to do in order to form the sedimentary rock? What could we do with these separate piles of shavings? Do what? Use a knife to Okay, so that's going to make our sediments, and then how do we make the rock? How could we make a rock from having separate piles of shavings?
Combining the
We could combine the shavings and then do what? If we just dump them all together, is that going to form one rock? So how could we make a rock out of having all those shavings? Pressure? Maybe some glue? Okay. Any other ideas? All right, well, I'll come back. We'll see.
Do we do the whole cardboard?
All right, from this group, your whole crayon, if we're simulating the rock cycle and how sedimentary rocks form, what do you think the whole crayon before you start it represents?
The rock. The whole rock, but it turns into sediment.
Okay, so a whole rock, maybe? Any other ideas?
What was the question again?
It's magma.
The question is, what do you think the entire crayon represents? If we're making sedimentary rocks, the whole crayon before you start it, what do you think it represents?
The sediment? The sediment?
If it's whole, does that represent sediment?
Oh, no. Okay, never mind. It's a whole rock.
Okay, so a whole rock. And then what about when we're shaving the rock down?
Weathering and erosion. Decomposition. Weathering and erosion? Or is it
Erosion, but not decomposition. Remember, the breaking down of living things is decomposition. So I think y'all thinking about deposition, which is related to the rock cycle. So deposit means to put out into one area or move to a new area. Decomposition is when living things die and then break down. Make sense? Okay. So we had our whole rock. You guys told me that shaving it is breaking it down into sediments. So now we've got our sediments. How are we going to create a sedimentary rock? If everybody has their own pile of sediment, how could we make a rock from it?
We squeeze them together.
We could squeeze them all together. What's that called? Compaction. And then we have to
Cementation.
cement them together. How do you think we're going to cement it together?
Melt.
Water?
Okay, they could be melted. Do we necessarily need heat to form sedimentary rocks?
it's wax, right? So can't you just squish it?
We could just squeeze it together to compact it, and then extreme pressure is going to form our sedimentary rock, right? Right. Make sure you work over your
Miss Thomas, do we shake?
Yes, and once it gets all the way down to where you can't sharpen it anymore, you can cut it up with a plastic knife.
Wait, so
Each person's pile should be your whole crayon, so you have sediment of your own color. Now, remember, with sedimentary rocks, we can see layers. What do those layers tell us? Raise your hand so I can actually hear what that's on. Is it the answer to the question? Okay, I'll get to it in just 1 second. But what about the question? In sedimentary rocks, we can see layers. What to move on to the next step after everyone has made their own piles. It tells you to put each one of the piles into a plastic bag. So you're going to use the plastic bag that you already have, but if you'll look up, if you dump your shavings straight into the bottom of the bag, they're going to be all spread out. You're not going to have a rock. But if you hold your bag sideways, whoever's holding the bag, and you deposit your layers into one corner of the bag, once you compact it and cement it, you will have a rock, an actual rock, rather than having it all spread out across the bottom of the bag. So the last class that did these did not do that, and they didn't end up with a rock. They just ended up with mushed up crayons. But I have seen it work correctly. But put it in the corner of your bag, and then that way you can push it all together. Remember, you don't want to disturb the layers. You want to be able to see each individual color of the crayon. And read your directions, because there are other steps that I did not say. Yes, Pepper. You want to wait until everybody's ready. One person is going to hold the bag, and then each person will deposit their layers, one on top of the other, so it's not just stirred out. You can put that. Oh, that's a cloth bag.
Y'all colors going first.
All right, everyone, we only have about 10 minutes left, so you should be putting your acceptance into your bag. And if you have chunks of crayons that are left, if they're fairly small, that's okay to use. But if they're bigger pieces, then just leave it out. If you got one person, yeah, hold your bag while the other people pour. You should go next because you have all the kids. All right, lead investigators, make sure you're reading the procedures out to your group members so that you can complete all of the steps. There's something you're supposed to get from your teacher. Yeah, I like
scoop it up, then squeeze it? Or just squeeze it first and then zip it up?
Yeah, you want to squeeze it together, compact it as much as possible, and then you want to zip it up. Because you want all the air out of the bag as much as possible. And then what does it say to do next?
Try not to disturb the layers of how they. Okay. That's next.
So y'all are on this section, step 3.
Hard backing book on your chair, then place the bag layer on top of the book so that the layer remains on one off. The layers remain one on top of the other. Sit on the bag and book to model compaction.
Alright, so somebody's got to sit on it.
Oh yeah, you can.
So we've compacted it, and now sitting on it is going to be what process?
Sedimentation.
Alright, so now you guys are ready to clean up. Please don't throw these away, or the pencil sharpeners, all the trash you can throw away. And then you're going to start working on the first section of questions, numbers 1 through 6. Alright, this group is time to go with the shavings that you have because you don't have much time left.
Okay.
This group, make sure you read step 3 and follow the directions carefully. This group, we've already finished step 3. Alright, so
We got
Now-
now for 10 minutes, well, 8 minutes now.
now you are supposed to, while you're waiting on your rock, you'll answer these questions on your paper, numbers 1 through 6,
On this paper?
for sedimentary rock, on the paper that you put your name on.
Oh, okay.
And you need to clean up as well. Alright folks, we officially have 5 minutes left and it is cleanup time. Clean everything up, return materials to the front lab table. Yes. Make sure your trash is in the trash can. If you need a broom, there is one at the front of the classroom in the corner. Once you get back to your seats, you're supposed to be answering the questions under sedimentary rocks in your handout.
She got a spray bottle.
White. I'm not part of your group. I'm not judging.